You need a more frivolous question, I think. I'm curious to know what went through your mind when you found that People magazine had named you Sexiest Man Alive, and what does the term sexy mean to you?
That's frivolous. Well, it was the editor that called me first, and he was somewhat taken aback by my sort of cavalier attitude towards it, I think. I don't think seriously it should be taken too seriously. It's very flattering and very nice. In fact, I was at Paramount having lunch the other day, and on my way out, 3 men stood up and gave me a cricket applause as I was leaving. And there were 3 rather overweight, balding guys around 60. So I went back to find out whether they were winding me up, sending me up, or whatever, and they were just rather pleased of the turn of events of what it had. No, one is obviously flattered by it, but it's the sexiest man alive. There are very few sexy dead.
James Bond seems to be caught in a time warp. He never ages, unlike the rest of us. Now, although I would prefer to see you reprise that role as a sexier, more mature, sophisticated Bond, if that wouldn't be possible, would you consider coming back as James Bond Sr.?
What am I going to do, play Roger Moore's father? No, it's too difficult, really, for the effort, and have said never say never again and did it again. And no, I don't think so, not really.
The public at large still strongly identifies you with James Bond. Has that been a blessing or ultimately a curse?
Well, it's a constant point of reference. It's something that's very much in the eyes of the beholders. The people who see it as the beginning and end of whatever I would do or be doing or will do, then it's their problem, really, rather than mine. I mean, I work on what appeals to me, and as long as I retain my enthusiasm, I presume I'm working towards variance and certain measure of improvement. If I didn't have the sense of enthusiasm or improvement, then I wouldn't bother working. I would do something else. I would work at something else. So I can't dismiss the period because it was over a period of, it's nearly 30 years now. It was 1962 when I started doing the films, and I'm 38 now. You know, people forget, people come up and they start talking to me about these films, and when I tell them how long ago it is, a lot of them don't like it.
It's been said that men who are 60 plus and balding are more virile. Would you care to comment on that?
Well, it's years since I've been to bed with a 60-year-old balding guy, so I don't know.
From your perspective, though.
Sorry?
From your perspective.
From my perspective.
Mm-hmm. But you're only 38, so.
Listen, I can't answer for all these fat guys out there with beards at 60, pushing 60. No, I'm much more interested in keeping enthusiastic than anything else.
How do you define sex appeal?
How do I define it? How do you define it?
I think it depends on the person.
Well, we could go on all night.
Why do you think...
You're telling me there's a sex appeal for every person in this room?
Well, I think it depends on the person, whether you find them sexy or not.
Well, obviously, it's like attraction. How do you define it?
Do you think you're sexy?
Well, I've been told I am, yeah. And I know that I find certain people attractive and they find me attractive, and I'm presumptuous enough to think it's sexy.
Do you think you've been somewhat of an inspiration for older men?
Well, it would appear so.
Mr. Connery, there's a presence about you in person and on screen that very few other actors have. Have you always been this charismatic? And if so, what do you attribute that to?
Oh, I had ulcers at 16. And when I was in boy service in the Navy, I never remember any of my mess deck mates ever telling me I was charismatic. I don't know charismatic. If I know that there are certain things that when I think I know what I'm doing, it works better than when I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's a great help. I also think that the comfort in your own skin is more important than anything else. And most of the time, I feel comfortable in my own skin. And it probably gives some sense of comfort or what that I think maybe relates to other people too. For example, everybody has problems, everybody has some kind of neuroses or whatever, but I don't think that it's necessary that you have to share them with everybody. That it's an area where I feel people should really be selfish, and I don't think it's synonymous with talent, that you're going around the tormented soul that everybody has to put up with. I think there's probably too much put on that, especially here.
Let me ask you, you seem to be a man who knows what he'd like to do, what he wants to do, and what he doesn't want to do. You said you stick your nose in everything, the writing, producing, directing. Do you consider yourself a difficult actor to work with? And if the answer is yes, at what point do you become difficult?
Well, the answer is no.
No?
No, I don't think I'm difficult at all.
Demanding?
It depends what you mean by definition of demanding. I mean, demanding, I expect everybody to be enthusiastic, which I think is probably the most important aspect of any enterprise, particularly something that's going to be over a short space of time, where everybody is, there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of different ideas and concepts about virtually what is the same thing. But when it's all going great, it's fantastic because of the perfection of knowing there's a beginning and an end that you have in some way be able to control, which is somewhat different from life.